And I wrote you in for best comic on Staten Island too.
Oh, you're the best. All right, we're live on YouTube. About to go live on Facebook, and then we'll start the recording.
Cool.
Two, one. Live on Facebook. Now for the recording. And 3. Well, I gotta try to monitor these comments. Sometimes people comment in. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. And welcome to The Slant, coming to you on the BS Podcast Network. I'm Sal Coladonato, here today with a good buddy of mine, fellow comedian Rodney Werth.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
And then silence. It's weird. It's weird when you do anything first thing after you wake up. I know it's fun, but I don't know. When I get to get up and go to work, I feel like I'm more in action. But when it's like a day I have off, I really have trouble like getting going. Like you said, I was like shaky before we started. I had coffee, waffles, and nicotine gum. Yeah. But you've quit cigarettes, right? You said not too long ago. How long ago was that?
6 years, 1 month, 19 days.
Over half a decade. How long did you smoke for?
Oh, Christ. From the time I was like 13. So almost 30 years.
Jesus Christ. Do you worry about the damage done?
I do. I did. I went and got checked out. Think about that. So
it's like 30 years. And they say what? It takes like half the time, they say, for your lungs to be fully healed.
No, it was when I researched it, I think it was like between 2 and 5 years or something like that. So I should be about good now. So right. I went and did the cardiologist thing and the stress test, all that stuff. So.
There's another thing that my mom's boyfriend did because he smoked, and he there's an MRI or an imaging that they offer if you're around your age. You could go yearly for this free check where they check for spots on your lungs. She'll look into smoking was I loved it. I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed it.
No, it was great. I mean, that's true. I mean, towards the end it was just the addiction. But for the longest time, it was I got hooked immediately. Like I was sneaking a cigarette and I didn't know how to inhale. And it was a thing where I heard it was in the basement. I stole one of my mom's cigarettes and I heard the door open. I went, and that's how I inhaled and got the head rush. I was like, oh, this is freaking awesome.
Were you trying to hide?
Yeah, I was sneaking one of my mom's cigarettes.
You know, it's funny. Like when we were younger, we thought we could do something like that as long as they didn't see us. We were in the clear. Yeah. But how much does it stink? But do they smoke?
Well, at the time, it was my mom's cigarettes. So
that's how I started. The parliaments from my stepdad and my mother. It's weird though when you smoke, you don't smell it, but when you don't do it, it is the most invasive smell on earth. It is incredible.
Well, how long now? Not since you've had one since a baby. So
the day before Carter was born. So it's been 1 month. Yes, I've gone this long with just nicotine gum before. And then I failed. It would always be like when I went back to work, like at the Goethals Bridge. For some reason at that job, we were allowed to smoke on the job. Right. We were outside, but usually you're not allowed, especially on Port Authority jobs. Yeah. But we did. And I easily got up to 2 packs a day.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was when I first started working full time in that, it was just before the laws started. So it was like I used to be able to smoke at work, like sitting there at my desk. And then they would slowly start to say, okay, well, you could smoke in designated areas in the building. And then it was but when they said no more smoking in the building, it was you would think that it would have gone down, but my smoking skyrocketed because it was an excuse to leave.
Right. When I started smoking regularly, it was during high. So I'd be 2000. I remember 9/11. I was already sneaking cigarettes behind my parents' back. I kept going out to the garage that day while the news footage was rolling. And the laws are just coming to effect where you couldn't smoke indoors in bars and stuff like that. I remember watching Mission Impossible in 5th grade, and on the plane when what's Angelina Jolie's father's name?
John Voight.
John Voight. He gets the if you choose to accept mission audio on his headset, and then the tape self-destructs on the airplane, and smoke rises, and to hide the smoke, he lights a cigarette on the airplane. Could you imagine? And part of me when I fly now, I see the ashtrays still there sometimes. But though there's still signs that say no smoking. It's we kind of know now. Nobody thinks that you can smoke. If anybody's doing it, they're hiding, Yeah. But I kind of wish I could smoke a cigarette on an airplane. But at the same time, it's how is that ever okay?
It was. I mean, I remember when I was 21, 22. It was. I'd gone to Ireland, and I don't like to fly. I mean, I do it when I have to do it. On a vacation or something. But I'm a wreck.
I just had a funny thought. Imagine you were like a bird who just didn't like to fly.
A bird that doesn't like to fly.
You'd be like the worst bird. Like all the other birds would be like, what's his fucking problem?
Too bad it's not the 50s. You could have like wrote a like Woody Woodpecker cartoon or something like
right.
That.
The bird who won't fly.
Woody or Jekyll, Heckle and Jekyll helping out the bird that's afraid to fly.
It's like the guy who can't get his dick up. So what happened? You went to Ireland.
So I went to Ireland and I was like a nervous wreck, and I probably smoked like a pack
on the plane.
Yeah, you were, and it was, and I remember at the time it was like because you had like a smoking section on the plane, but it wasn't closed off like first class or anything. It was just like the back 10 rows or something like that.
Did you have to buy the ticket specifically for that location? Or did you get up and walk to it?
I asked. Okay. I don't remember if I did like when I bought the tickets or at the gate. I don't remember how it worked back then. But yeah,
was there always like a 1 or 2 angry jerk-offs where like they wanted the smoking section, but all the seats were sold out, or vice versa, a non-smoker, there was no more seats in non-smoking, so they had to be stuck back there?
I kind of remember because I remember like actually I vaguely remember on that same trip there was a guy because you had to be sitting. I think you had to be sitting in your seat because they had the little tiny ashtrays, and there was a guy standing outside the bathroom smoking. And
sorry, buddy, can I borrow your ashtray?
You know, and like, but they came over and they said, "Oh, you can't be standing." And he's like, "Well, I couldn't get in to the smoking section, so what am I supposed to do?"
All right, I'll just smoke and non-smoking. Then you hear that? Non-smoking, I'm just smoking, non-smoking.
Yeah,
the non-smoker was just totally forgotten about for so long. If you're not a smoker, that is the most disgusting thing to be around.
And I remember like on that flight, and I remember thinking, well, I was like in like the first or second row of the smoking section, and I remember thinking, what the hell is the freaking point of this? I was like, you got these people like sitting like right in front of me.
But you're on the good side of the fence where it's benefiting you. So
they're in a cloud. It's like we're in a friggin' tube.
Smoking. Like, I remember towards the end too. Like it's just you think about quitting like years before you actually are capable of quitting. And I'm not even going to call myself successfully quit yet because I've gone this long before. And then there'll be a temptation one day and I'll give in.
Yeah.
And then that give in turns into, all right, well, I'll just do this at work. And then before you know it, you're full blown smoking at home again.
Yeah. Cause I had quit once before, and I quit when I was about 30 or 29, 30, like in there, like around the time when we were like talking about having a kid. And, so I said, okay, I'll try to quit. And I quit for a couple of years, and then I forget something happened, and I think it was at work, and I went and I just asked somebody, I bummed a cigarette, and I was halfway through the cigarette, and I walked down to like the newsstand and bought a pack.
There's nothing worse than when you're free of an addiction and you wake up some days and you go, oh my God, like I'm not trapped by this thing. I'm not going to feel shitty if I don't have this thing. And then you give in again, and then you go, oh God, I did it. Like I fell into the hole again. And it's true. There are people. I mean, it's a disease. I mean, addiction is absolutely a disease. Yeah. And and it's like, like the people say, oh, well, you chose to do this stuff. You chose to try it. You didn't choose to, anything, any kind of stuff. You kind of lose your free will with these circumstances to get out of things.
Like when I was a kid, like when I was younger, like in the 80s, like Coke was huge.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I was in high school and, but I knew because from the first time I took a drag of a cigarette that I, got that head rush, I was hooked on cigarettes. So I knew, I was like, well, if I get into this, I was like, I'm doomed. I smoke weed once in a while, but it's like the hard stuff. I mean, if I tried something, but I never did it the second time because I knew what my,
so you just walk this tightrope and you go, just do it once.
Right. I know I was absolutely born one of those people with that like addictive personality.
I had a chance to not be hooked on cigarettes because I remember my first cigarette was I was hanging out with my friend. I did it for peer pressure because we were in 6th grade and the kids were doing it. And there was a deli. It was on the corner. It's still there. No, it's a vape shop now, but on the corner of Guyan Avenue and North Railroad, right up there.
Okay.
Right next to Oakwood train station.
Yeah, sure.
They used to sell. That's where we got our underage beer when I started drinking.
Yeah,
that's where we got our underage cigarettes in 6th grade. And I got a pack of Parliament Menthol 100s because I thought if they're 100s there's more, and I smoked instead of just sharing with my friends behind like a dumpster somewhere. I had my first full cigarette, and I got so fucking ill from it. It was just too much.
Yeah,
I remember I was laying on the couches in Richmond Town Library, like just going, oh God, how do I get home? I had to ride my bike home. It was almost as if I was drunk. Like I went off the curb down a hill. I was just fucked up, and I got home. My parents had thought that I had drank behind their back because of how sick I was, and I could have not done it there. I had a couple stints with friends, like in the schoolyard, we'd smoke and hide. And then it was when I was working at Gennaro's in New York Lane when I was 16. I bought a pack and I started smoking regularly, and then I was trapped. That was it.
Yeah.
A stupid thing to do.
But, now that when you wean off the gum and that, don't, You know, don't even like take a drag. I'm just telling you, because it's like,
well, it was harder to not take a drag before when I saw people smoking, but now that the baby's here, I could weigh that time against how long he's alive. And I like that I could go, as long as you're alive, I haven't had a cigarette, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know about, we didn't know if the gum, probably eventually, maybe. I enjoy the gum. It's not dangerous. All it does is constrict your arteries. And I do it when I'm at work. If I need to wake up a little bit, it gets the heart racing. And I like to throw it in my gums when I'm like reading and stuff. It's like almost a safer way of doing nicotine, you know.
But you're still doing the nicotine. That's what I'm just saying. Like, if you ever, because like, let's say like I haven't had a cigarette or anything in like 6 years. So, I mean, if I had one now, not that I would if my wife is watching this anyway, you know, but if I did, I probably end up smoking again, but that would be like the mental part of it. But the physical part, you know, I'm completely over. Whereas like if you're chewing the gum, you're still taking the nicotine intake.
Right.
So if you have a regular cigarette, it might be like, you know, even if that was the only one you had, it'd be like starting from scratch.
Well, the nicotine,
with the withdrawal.
When I don't have a cigarette this long, if I was to have one again, which I won't if my wife is watching, which I'm sure she is, it tastes like shit. Like, you don't realize how bad it tasted.
Yeah.
But I'm not worried so much about the nicotine. Like, technically it's a poison or whatever, but I was worried more about what I'm inhaling, how much I'm inhaling, and the fucking cost. The sheer cost every week was insane.
You know, it's a good trick. I mean, I did it the first time I quit and I went back, but somebody had told me at that time they had just gone up to, this is years ago. I was like I said, I was like 30, and they had just gone up to $5 a pack. And somebody said to me, you know, take the money you would have spent on cigarettes and throw it in an envelope, like every day, whatever amount of, you know, and don't look at it. And then just go in like a few months and take the envelope, and you see how much ridiculous amount of money is in there, and go treat yourself to something. And what happened was, so I did it, and I used to smoke. And
you bought yourself 4 cartons of cigarettes.
No, but what happened was at that time, like I said, it was $5, and I used to smoke like a pack and a half a day. So one day I'd buy 2 packs, the next day I'd have to buy 1 every day. So every day I'd put either 10 or a 5 in this envelope and then we were going on vacation. We were going to Europe for like a tour that we had saved up for, and then we blew all our money on it, and then we were like, well, you know, and I was like, how much room do we have on credit cards for spending money? And then I went, oh, I got the envelope, and I went, and it was like a few months. It was like maybe 5, 6, and it was like $800 or $900 in there.
That's enough.
And I was like, holy shit! I was like, well, we got our souvenir money.
I remember when I was a kid in school, and I guess cigarettes were around $5 back then. I don't know, maybe like 3rd or 4th grade. I remember the teacher going, okay, look at this. Cigarettes are $5 a pack or whatever. She's like, by the end of the year, if you did what you said, you'd have $2,000. Yeah. Now, with cigarettes being $15 a pack, I could get my roof fixed.
Yeah.
But you know what? Since I quit, I'm not seeing the extra money. You never do. You live within your budget. Yeah. Maybe it's because the baby's here now and you're buying diapers. Maybe once a week I buy diapers, actually. It's not so bad. But yeah, like I could get the roof fixed. But it was more the health thing. I want to be there. And like, I don't know. It was just awful. Like, you just feel trapped. See, with me, with my addiction, because I've been addicted to so many things. It's like you're on a train, right? That's moving. It's flying down the tracks. And there's little windows where the doors open where you could jump out the door safely to get off the train. And it flies by so quick. So once I get myself on this train, whether it's any of the drugs that I could relapse on, especially cigarettes, I get these limited windows where I could jump off the train again. So once I'm on the train, I'm stuck on it for miles, you know what I mean, before I could get off. So that's why once I'm free, I got to stay free or else I have these issues. And that goes with everything I've ever done. But well, anyway, this is a nice, you know, thing to start the podcast with. I'm happy you're here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm thrilled.
Happy you came. A nice little, it's Sunday, right?
Yes.
So I'm having trouble. I did these LaGuardia Airport, dude. Yeah. They're trying to get this shit done. And they're just throwing man hours at it. I got called there last week to work night shifts, like overnight, not overnight, up to like 11 p.m., 10 p.m. around there. And then Saturday morning, come back, it's 6 a.m. And then I got laid off. And then they called me this week, oh, we got to get it done, come back. I went back and I did, you know, they don't tell you, you could stay as long as you want. But like I was there from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Thursday. And then I had to be back for 6 a.m. the next day. I get out of the airport and I parked on the street to save money on parking. My car was gone. They towed it.
Get out of here.
Yeah, there was a block I found I could park on, but I didn't see when I arrived at 5 a.m. that there was a pump there. I remember this woman looking out her front window at me. She probably called because on a private street, you don't usually get towed for a pump. You get a ticket, right?
When was this?
This was Thursday night. Thursday by Thursday afternoon, I had been told.
It's not like it's like the last day of the month where they're driving around looking.
Right, and I was so angry. I
quota.
wanted to drive back by this person's house and put a rock through their window, but I was like, you don't know if they did it. But so anyway, I get out of work 10 o'clock at night after working 15 hours, exhausted. My car's gone. I get an Uber to the tow lot. I get there at 10:03. They go, sorry, we close at 10. I was like, I don't live here in Queens. I have to get to Staten Island. I have a baby at home. Sorry, too bad. There was a Chinese family who had just gotten in before me. They were kicking them out. They were like, they're from North Carolina. They don't even know how they're getting home. I'm like, you fucking scumbags. You're gonna take my car and get $200 out of me plus $115 for the ticket. Give me my fucking car back. I got a kid. My glasses were in the car. I wanted to be like, I have a medical device. I didn't know if that would count. So I had to Uber home $100. And then next day, thank God I caught a ride back from my dad. He was working at Terminal D. And at lunch, I had to sneak out, go get my car. It was a whole fucking thing, Rodney. It was a rough few days. And then, I got off Friday night, barely recuperated yesterday, and here we are today talking to each other. That's why I'm a little shaky right now.
I guess when you saw the pump, you realized that was towed. I mean, I would have thought my car was stolen.
There's no worse feeling than when you pull up with the Uber and your car is not there and you start to go, okay, what happened? And then when I saw the pump, I was like, yeah, it was towed. And then you just Google it and it tells you right where your car is. They're so helpful at telling you how you could give them money to get your stuff back,
Yeah.
But that's that. Oh, fuck. But Bichetti was supposed to join us today. Mike Bichetti. I haven't worked with him recently since the baby's been born, but I want him to be here. It looks like he dyed his hair, and apparently he told me this week he took himself off social media.
Yeah, look, because when you told me he was going to be on, I tried to tag him, that I was going to be on the podcast with Mike Bichetti, and it didn't tag him, so he must have dropped off.
Yeah, and then he was like, "Well, I'll come if I don't have a way there." So I was like, "I'll make this easy. I'll get up an hour earlier. I'll come get you." And then he got a coughing fit last night. Love the man to death. He loves to cancel last minute. It drives me nuts. You know what I mean?
What are you gonna do? But if he needed a ride, well, if he's sick, but if he needed a ride,
but he's always sick at the last minute. It's like, well, we work regular jobs, right? So you have to be reliable,
right,
and call ahead of time, and some people don't have it like that.
Bichetti's full time, right, on comedy and acting, and that. Does he have a day job? You
know how you could say when somebody asks you if you're a full time worker, you go, "Do I work 40 hours a week?" Right.
Right.
That's his only gig. Would I call it full time? Yeah.
But he doesn't have a day job. Oh, okay.
I don't know. How do we do it? How could we just not work and get by?
I couldn't. I don't know how people do. I mean, I'm so impressed. Like when, like meet people like at clubs and that do it full time. I'm like, God bless you.
I think Lisa's watching right now, and she had asked me if I wanted a coffee, and I told her no, but I could really use one right now. Can you hear me? Coffee, please. A little bit of sweet cream. Anyway, I'm happy you came down. I was kind of excited for this. You're one of the, probably like Bichetti, you're like one of the nicest people I know alive.
Oh, shucks.
Seriously.
Now I'm going to sit here and make fun of everybody. Yeah,
well, you're one of those guys that I know that is always really happy and excited for people, and you're want to be there and support, and it's just
because you guys were so what happened? I mean, it was only 2 years ago, when I started doing this, and it was just going to be a bucket list one-off. I went to,
You were telling me when you started stand-up. See, I didn't even remember this time. So if you could recount it for me, you started to do that before we started to record. Yeah. It was at the Loony bin on Staten Island.
It was the Loony. Well, the open mic was October 1st.
Which it was probably Darren throwing it, because he was Pat still running it?
Oh, okay. It was Pat's.
Because after Pat stopped there, Darren usually picks up Pat's old mics and keeps them going.
And it was going to be just a one-off thing, and I went and I figured everybody was going to be like,
hey, Rob Cardozone's watching. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Rob.
This is how it usually works. Pat Haggerty, he takes his old mics he doesn't run anymore because he's moved on, and he puts them in the recyclable out on the curb. And then Darren is the Chinese woman that comes by with her cart and goes through the bags and picks out the open mics. Yeah. So 2 years ago.
So it was just going to be.
How'd you hear about it?
I contacted the Loony bin.
So you just I'm going to do stand up.
I wanted to try.
So let me contact the local venue.
Yeah,
because I did the same thing when I was thinking about starting stand up. I emailed the Loony bin thinking this is the most legit thing to do.
I used to look up for years and years, and I just couldn't. I mean, from when I was really young, it was something I always wanted to do, and I would write stuff, and I'd do it in front of a mirror, and I'd be like, this is really, really bad, and then it was just a couple of years ago. It was a few years after Sandy and that, and I said, well, let me just give this a shot. And as I just go to the open mic bucket list things, I'm too old to really try to do anything with it. And it was Pat's mic. You were there. Darren was there. Antonio was there, and Joe Romby was there. And everybody.
Did you see Joe Romby and go, well, he's doing it?
Well, I saw him. He was sitting at the bar when I first got there, like writing notes. And I went over and introduced myself, and told him this is my first time. And he's like, ever? And I was like, yeah. And he's
ever.
Like, he's like,
he wrote down
for you. And then John Kirshner was there too.
Right.
And and I just figured, okay, well, I'm gonna go. Everybody's just gonna be like, Christ.
Such a nerve-wracking feeling, isn't it?
Yeah. And I figured I assumed everybody was like everybody was all pros and they were gonna be like
at the Loony bin for an open mic. We're all pros. The emptiest open mic in New York City.
And then everybody's just gonna be like, this guy's taking up stage time. When is just but you guys were so awesome. And it's like you specifically, you and Darren came up to me right after when it was over and was saying, pointed out a couple things and said, the writing was good, just keep coming. And I was like, keep coming. That's all
you can do to get better is keep coming.
And I was like, keep coming. I was like, and honestly, it was gonna, like I said, a one-off thing, but everybody was so nice. And like, you guys laughed at my awful first set. And I was hooked.
I found that too. My first set ever, which is probably the worst set I've ever had. People laughed at it. They always give you that pass the first time. Even if you don't say it's your first time, they somehow know. And then you start bombing after that.
Because like when I contacted Loony Bin and it was like a few weeks later, Pat emailed me back and I told him, well, this is going to be my first time. And when he was calling me up, he said, well, before it even started, he says, oh, and by the way, we got a virgin here. And all yous were like, oh, I started clapping.
We started jerking our dicks under the table.
But you guys were just so nice. And then it was like a few days after that, I got a email from somebody. I think it was Joel Richardson.
Oh, of course. He was the first one that scooped me up too. Because you start to find out this is how it works. Is you got these guys who throw these like low rate shows and they need people who are going to bring audience to their shows. They know you're eager and just starting, and they get you, and you think, "Oh my God, that's how I started at the Loony Bin. This is my first club show." Like,
I had no idea what a bringer was, any of that. When I got the email from him, I like called my wife. I was like all excited. I was like, "Holy shit!" I said, "Somebody,
honey, I'm quitting my job. Like, fuck the pension."
I was like, "Somebody at the open mic must have like contacted managers or something for me. They're putting me on a show," and I was like, I had no idea it was a bringer or anything like that. But of course I had like 1 million people there. I was like, and I did the exact same thing that I did at the open mic and it went okay. You might even remember the show because you came on right after me. And there was like a table of these, I don't know if it was a bachelor party, these really, really drunk women right in front.
Oh, of course.
And they were hysterical.
We call them easy pickings.
They were hysterical laughing at everything. And I just felt like a comedy god. And my whole set, but the whole set was just like doing like marriage jokes. And like, because I'm like I'm going to be married almost, it's going to be 20 years.
Yeah.
So at the time it was 18 years. And that was like the whole set, like just jokes about, what's the secret to a long, successful marriage. And then you came on right after me and it's on YouTube.
Oh my God. I think I remember this now. And I said, the secret to a long, successful marriage is...
You picked up the mic stand. You want to know the secret to a long, successful marriage? I'll show you.
I don't remember what I said. I had an answer. It was like die or something like that.
Something like that. But you were like waving the mic stand like it was like a weapon.
Have I ever waved the mic stand? I might have. I don't remember. I've gone through many different mic positions.
I remember it like because it was my first show. And I remember I was sitting and I was just so impressed. And I was like, wow. I was like, he just did my entire set in like 3 seconds and got like 10,000 times the laughs I got. It was my first show. And I was just like, I was like, so that's how, I was like, it was like a learning
Here's the thing about that. People comment, and I remember Kirshner commented on it once, is how I could watch what's going on in the show and then do minutes on it. Yeah. And people think that's great. But what I think is, that's like a defense mechanism where I'm not prepared with material. So I'm just grabbing what I have right there. And I'm glad it works there. But then I start to go to myself, how do you build an act around that? How do you do 45 minutes on that?
No, you are better at crowd work than really. I mean, I still do like lots of like bringers and stuff like that and like showcases. And so I've seen 1,000 guys and women. I've seen 1,000 comics now that I've been on shows with, all added up, and you are like better like a crowd work than pretty much.
Tell it to anybody. The crowd at Broadway Comedy Club last week. They weren't so into it.
Well, I mean, I guess you're not gonna hit it out of the park every time.
No,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but that's the shitty thing about New York is we have a lot of opportunity here in stage time, but you see like there's just so many people, and that's why I like to run out to South Dakota once a year if they accept me for their comedy festival.
Well, you did it twice now, right?
Yeah, and I just applied for the third time. I'll just keep going as long as they keep having me. I like getting out there, and there's less comics and from a wider amount of. Oh, why is my phone listening to me? Stop listening. But I signed up for this year, and they pulled the names in like January, and then my cousin from California messaged me and was like, "We're gonna come down," and the exact dates of the festival. I don't even know if I'm in it. I'm like, "No, you got to move that because I need that every year."
Yeah, I know you look forward to that.
I want to quit comedy every year until I go there again, and then I'm recharged for another 8 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like the thing, like, I mean, I know you love that festival, but it's like, so like this year now that I'm like 2 years in. And this summer.
Oh, Papa Giordano just joined too.
Hey, what's up, Antonio? So I started like I'd send some.
And Gino Hinojosa, you don't know him. He's an American hero who fought in the Afghanistan wars.
Oh, thank you. God bless.
God bless.
God bless. Thank you very much.
What's cute?
So like with the festival, so it's like I sent like videos out to like a whole bunch of festivals. And there was one, I'm going to call them out because this was fucked up.
Be careful because Greg and Rob once called out a festival and they heard. That doesn't mean anything bad or good, but they heard. I remember I got to the festival and they were like, "Oh, those guys."
Well, it was all right. So I'll be nice about it, but it was the Cleveland Comedy Festival. It was just one of the many that I sent out to. And I get an email that said, like 11:30 one night, it was just a couple weeks ago. I get an email I forgot I even applied to it because I did it like months ago saying, "Hey, congratulations. And, but just, we want to put it out on social media. Wait a few days before you start announcing on social media that, you're going to be on this, but here's a link with all the comics and the venues and your show dates.
You're coming to Cleveland."
Right. So I'm like, oh, holy shit. And I'm like almost in tears. So I'm thinking it's like Cleveland. I figured it's like huge.
Yeah.
And then maybe a minute and a half later, another email comes in. Please disregard the previous email. It was sent out by inadvertently to everybody who submitted.
You're all accepted.
Yes, so to everybody. So I was like, what? So I went back to the first. I mean, I was almost in tears. I was like debating, do I wake up my wife and tell her, or cause she gets up at like 4:30 in the morning because she works at
you
school.
don't wake her up. You maybe put it on a post-it note.
And so then I go to the original email and go to the link. So well, maybe I really am on it. As I scroll through, I wasn't on. It's like Charlie Brown. It's Christmas. It's Halloween time. I got to rock. I
think if I got up at 4:30 in the morning and my spouse had let me know that I had, well, first if you woke me up, you get shot. Yeah. But if I even saw the post-it note at 4:30 in the morning, I'd smash your face. It's so weird being married or in a long-term relationship, and then we start like you started 2 years ago. Yeah. I started 4 years ago. Yeah. You're with your wife how long?
We'll be married 20 years, and I guess 23 years we're together.
Okay, so I'm with Lisa, probably going on 13 years, and we're married. We're going on 2 years.
Okay.
So we weren't comics when we met them. We built this life together as who we are as people for years, and then they chose to marry this person. Then we're like, oh, we're comics now. They don't care. Like in the grand scheme of things, like, all right, we have a mortgage, we have children, like we have to go to work. Like, how serious is this thing? Yeah. They try to be as supportive as possible, but when the good news is there, or even more than that, more often than not, it's the bad news. It's the hurt feelings. It's I didn't do well. And they're like, there's been times where Lisa's been like, why don't you if you're just always unhappy, like you're just always upset and like just have fun. Like if you're not having fun, why are you doing this? That kind of shit. Oh, there's been tons of times where she's left the show with me and we're in the car and she's just trying to have a conversation, but my head is still back at the club and I'm just looking at the road, wide-eyed, blank, thinking about going over to my head. And she's like, did you hear anything I just said? And it's like, no, I'm thinking about that lady in the front row with the blonde hair who was giving me the look.
Yeah. I mean, but like since now that you brought it up, I mean, it's true. It's like when we started like well into the relationship, and like my wife, God bless her, she was so great at first, and she still is. She's still very supportive with it, and that like to a point, and it's like I remember like when I first started, there was one time something, I think it was when we the showcase at Broadway that you got the two that you won that one, you got the 2 month
quote unquote residency.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. And then they put me on their summer festival, like which was gonna be like 6-8 months later, and the funniest over 40 thing. And I was like so excited, and I was like just babbling when I told my wife, because this is all like in the first 3, 4, 5 months I'm doing this, and like I said, it was gonna be just a one-off thing, and now I got picked to be in the thing, and I was like all excited, and she got scared. She was like, no, and she was like, we have to have a conversation here, because she thought I was like ready to quit my job.
They always think that. There was a time when Lisa was
like, of course not.
Lisa thought too. There was a fear, because they have to, as the women, it's just nature. They think that you're just gonna go, okay, this is it now. But it's like, well, then if I do that, the apartment goes away, the car goes away. Right. So obviously, I'm not thinking that. I'm just thinking that I could be Superman and balance both. And God, is it rough? But they think that, and now think about it. Say it's even. I have it sometimes when you have like something good come up that you could go like seize the day. You get scared, because it's like you're almost afraid to succeed, because if something happens, now everything fucking changes. Now your life is this now, and it's like, do I really want that? Are you prepared for that? How does that affect all the people connected to you? Yeah. It's a really strange thing.
It is, and it's like and I had to but I talked to Dad. I calmed it. I said, look, I'm just a big fat middle-aged guy. I said, and I was like,
will you marry me again?
I was like, I don't play softball. I suck at softball, and I don't bowl. This is it. I was like, if I was in a softball league or a bowling league, and I did that like once or twice a week, 3 times a month, it's fine. I said, that's all that this is. This is a hobby. And I said, and in the back of my mind, I was like, but if somebody wants to throw me some money, but I don't.
Right. I mean, I would love for it. I would love for it to be more. Of course, I feel like I'll never be happy until I either gave it my all. I don't want to throw the towel in, but I would never quit working. First of all, I work too fucking hard to be vested in my pension, and if I bought a house, like I'm going to go into foreclosure, like I'm just going to and you've been with me this long, you think I'm just going to stop working?
Right. I was like, my daughter now. She's a junior in high school, and it's like, when we had this conversation 2 years, she was like just starting high school. I was like, what do you think? I'm going to tell my kid, no, you can't go to college because I want to do stand up.
Wait, what was that conversation like? Where you're like, honey, sit down. She's like,
no,
she's a teenage girl, right? She's into her own shit now, and she's thinking like, what is he going to tell me? Is he gay? And you're just like, honey, I'm a comedian.
When I told her that I was going to do the open mic,
was she floored, or was she just like, why are you telling me this? I'm a teenage girl.
Oh, what you mean, my daughter?
Yeah.
Oh no, I had that. Well, I told my wife.
She give you the 1K.
She just went, whatever. I was like, she's like,
don't let my friends know.
Basically, she was like, well, I think she said something because she was 14. Which that's a fantastic age.
Is it?
Oh, it's no. So, but I think that when she heard, it was kind of like, well, who's gonna see, and what are you gonna talk about, and who's gonna see it? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to.
Because now it affects them. Her friends might see it. I hope all her friends see this right now. Hope they're all watching. Yeah, I'm going to find them on Facebook and share it to them.
But then, she was my daughter. She was like great with it too, though. I mean, she'll never admit it, but I think she thinks it's cool.
You know what's hard about it is if you could justify it by making enough money where it's your job, then I think everybody will accept it at that point. Until then, it's not a priority to anybody else that depends on you, and that's it's rough. So she's 14. She's how old now?
She's 16 now.
16 now. So my baby's 1 month old. I had a conversation with you 1 week before the baby came out. I remember you were like, you're not going to sleep for a while. And I kept going, all right. Sometimes it's not as bad as I thought it would be. And sometimes it's way worse than I thought it would be.
We were driving back from the city, right?
Yeah.
Well, it was like, it wasn't so much I said, you're not going to sleep. I said, the best advice I got like just before the baby was born, and I still think it was sleep when the baby sleeps, because otherwise there's no way.
Right, but then I would literally have to sleep from noon till 11 o'clock at night, and then be up all night. It's just my life doesn't work. I get nothing done that way.
Well, I mean, but it was more like the 2-3 hour naps when the kids take.
Yeah, well,
like now, like I would like.
Right, and I'm podcasting.
Right,
but when the baby, the first 2 weeks, I did that a lot. When he would go to sleep, I go to sleep, but then I had to go back to work, But so she's 14. People like this enjoy this time when they're small like this is the best time. I don't know if I'm crazy and I just don't know because I have no frame of reference, but I can't wait till he's like 14 and wants nothing to do with me, because then I could go about my life again.
It's heartbreaking.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's like it's the way it is, and and it's fine. I mean, my daughter. I mean, I'm I'm blessed. I'm very lucky. She's a great kid. She doesn't like, doesn't give us any problems or anything like that, but she's a normal teenager. And like, and it's like we were like, always buddies in that. And now it's like if she's
Did
home,
you guys fist bump a lot? My dad used to love to fist bump when I was
we
a
had
young teaser.
We had our own hand signal.
Did you make it up for her? Or did you come up together with it together? Because my dad kind of forced it on me. Like we'd be in the car and he'd put his fist down. And I'd be like, do I have to? And he would not put his fist down until I gave him and it was the whole thing. It was the down, up, and then touch knuckle to knuckle.
No, I think it was, I think it started with, like we were like imitating like a commercial, like just being silly, and it just became remember there was a commercial, pound cake French fries or something like that.
Absolutely. What?
It was like,
all right,
pound cake French.
Oh, I get it now.
Something like
now
that.
We're both homosexuals.
Yeah, so it was something like that.
You'll let your wife know Lisa's downstairs. That's easy enough to let her know. And now me and Rodney.
Yeah.
You think she'll move out and you could just move in? Is that how that's gonna work? Pound cake French fries.
Yeah. It was something like that when she was real little, and it was just, yeah. So, but no,
it's gonna ruin my world when he doesn't want anything to do with me. I'm just selfish, buddy. I'm so selfish. That's why I think you're such a nice guy. Because like, all right, you're doing Caroline's a lot now, way more than I just didn't keep going, But there were times when I was first starting to go where I needed people. Anytime I needed people, you're like, oh, let me know, I'll be there. And you were like dead serious. You weren't like one of those people that's like, I'll be there. And
I mean, I work right across the street.
Oh, it's all right. But
so I mean, and it's so
I would be like, I don't work anywhere near here. Sorry. You know what I mean?
But I love that show too, though.
I hate that about me, though. Like, you know what I mean?
I went in yesterday afternoon to see a guy.
Did you? That's great. I don't know how you're just so fucking selfless. Like I want in my heart to be there for people. When it comes to actually doing, I'm like, fuck, I'm just so wrapped in my own shit. And I wish I wasn't like that. I think it's the source of a lot of any unhappiness I have is being wrapped up in my own bullshit and not seeing outside that bubble, Well,
I mean, I'm wrapped up in my own bullshit too. And it's almost like the comedy thing is like almost like therapy. You know? I mean, I think
it's why I need therapy.
I've always loved stand my whole life.
Getting on stage and doing your thing is absolutely that. When I do that, I go, when I do this, I will never need drugs again. You know what I mean? But when I'm not on stage and just having to deal with it, trying to schedule things in, or if I don't go, the very few times I get to go on stage, like say 4 or 5 times a week straight, the very few times, by the end of that week, I feel flawless. Like I got this. I could go on any stage right now and do what I have to do. But like when I saw you at Raveling Thread on Wednesday, I hadn't been on stage in a week, and I had this feeling walking in, even though I'm around all my peers and friends, I'm like, how bad is this going to go? Like,
it was great, and you did crowd work.
I know what I've been doing since when I'm not on stage a lot. Even if I do well, I get off stage and I go, shit, there was a bunch of things that I said I was going to talk about, and I never even did them. I forgot all about them.
Yeah, but
I kind of made fun of that guy though. He was a great sport though. He was in a car accident from drinking, and now he looks, he's very spastic.
His name's Mike.
Oh, he has a name.
Kirshner's friend. He does the think before you act.
Think before you act.
That's a
he
cool
should have named it
though.
Too Late. That's what he should have named it.
It's just wrong. That's just fucking wrong. But I mean, when he came. This is like I think I was talking about like teenage, like having a teenage kid. When the last night of the festival at Flagship Brewery, he was there.
Keep showing up to breweries and bars.
And he was selling like, he has the $5 bracelets that say "Think before you act," and like to give to really for I guess for teenagers and that. I bought 4 because my daughter was going to be starting driver's ed.
And you're going to give it to her?
I gave it to her, and you should have seen the look I got. And she's like, "What is this?" I was like, "We always wear, got 8 million bracelets. They wear like the little string things and little." And I was like, "So,
put this on.
Put this one on." And she's like, "No."
Oh,
and I was like, "I got you 4." I said, "For each girl in the car with you." And it's like
you thought she was gonna hand them out to her friends.
As the words were coming out of my mouth, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm that dad." I'm gonna do these lost middle-aged guy.
And the thing is, you do these things because you give a shit. So you're doing the right thing, right?
And I said, put it on so that when you're driving, you see it. And she's like, doing that whole thing, And I was just like, well, look, I said, I'm not I'm not a complete idiot. I said, I was your age once. She goes, I don't do it. It's like, stop right there. I don't want to hear it. I said, I was a junior in high school. Don't even try to tell me that there's like no chance you're ever gonna like be at a party and that there's not gonna be a keg there. So I was like, I'm not an idiot.
So, but you got to think back to now when you were that age. If somebody handed you,
I was a train wreck.
If somebody handed you that pen, what would you have done?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying?
I was like, I became that.
And how else do you communicate? Because the only way to communicate to them is the way you did.
And it's like, but the thing is, you'll see, like, as Carter grows up,
I don't want to see.
But let me finish. Like when you'll see, it's like he'll always be the little kid. Even he'll be his own man, and that like he'll be when he's like.
That's what's. I used to hate that. My mom and my dad, they would say, "You're still that little kid," and it's like, no, I'm fucking not. I'm saying the word "fucking." Like you didn't think that would happen. Yeah. Like but that's the thing though. Like I know what I've done in my life. Yeah. And I know what he could possibly do, and it worries the shit out of me. But how do you? There's nothing
you could do
because you didn't think
that. The best
that's what infuriates. This is what's going to make me very angry because I get very angry as I think about. I know I'm not stupid. I used to think my parents were stupid, and my parents would tell me I'm not stupid. Like we grew up in the 70s and 80s, like cocaine, baby. Like you think we're not. And I would go, no, there's no fucking way you could possibly know, not realizing that they have all this life experience ahead of me.
Yeah, and like, and it was like, I forget there was something. It wasn't anything really bad, but there was something that happened. And, and my daughter thought like, she was like, getting away with like that. I would never have any idea or something like that. And I said to her, I said, go in your room, go to Netflix, put on a movie called Less Than Zero. As a, did you ever see that? I mean, it's okay.
Oh, that's the Robert Downey Jr. movie where he plays like himself, right?
Before you were born, probably. But
I've always heard about that movie.
And that was the South Shore. I mean, I had gone to parties like that. It was like
you're like I'm Iron Man.
I was, I mean, I was like a heavy metal kid. I wasn't like
man,
but I had gone.
Did you throw up the devil horns to your daughter?
Like, I have a Grim Reaper tattoo.
I used to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, but I had gone to parties like there were like some of like the rich kids and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and it was like that. I mean, there would just be like cocaine everywhere and things like that. It was insane. And I said, so there's nothing. I said there is nothing you can think of that I haven't seen or done.
You give me hope because if I look at you, I get to know you. I'm like, this is a really nice, upstanding American citizen. I'm like, I can't picture you ever doing that, and you're okay. You came out the other side okay, so maybe I'll be all right.
I didn't.
You think I'll be all right, Rodney?
You're all right already. Don't you worry about
it. I hope my kid. Oh, how do you keep them away? Because this is the thing. Part of me is
you do the best you can. You be honest.
Part of me being
just be honest. I mean, you
can't be too honest.
No,
because I remember my mom when I used to get in trouble.
She's gonna end up seeing this.
Oh,
my daughter. She'll end up seeing it. And I said before.
Yeah, but she'll think you're the coolest now.
I said before I tried everything like once and just
that was the thing. I remember.
Well, hopefully she doesn't watch this then. She doesn't know about
when I first started getting in trouble in like grade school because I would misbehave because I thought I was cool and like the class clown. A lot of times when I got mad, I remember the first few times she was like, we all get in trouble. I got in trouble in school. And I remember hearing that and going, oh, I have license now to be bad because it's what people do. And yeah, I remember when I was bad with early on with drugs. Like I remember cocaine. I remember my mom came to me and she was like, I know what you did tonight because I've done it before. And I was like, oh shit. I remember it kind of hit me like, God, like, you know what I mean? I don't want to be that honest. But the other problem is being an addict. It's in my genetics to turn him quickly if he tries things. So I have to be honest to that extent because this is what they did in school. I remember this. They had the DARE program. The cop would come in and they would just be like, drugs are bad. Yeah. You do drugs. Look, he's dead. And it doesn't happen like that because you're a kid going, well, why would he touch them if it's just bad? They don't let you know, well, because you feel amazing when you do them. And then there's a whole process to it. So I'm going to have to be like, listen, like I remember I asked this in rehab and I was like, how'd you tell your kids to the counselor that you were? And they said, you just got to be like honest. You got to be like, listen, you do this thing, you're more predisposed than anybody else to all of a sudden you're in a bad way. Like, I'm not looking forward to that. I think I'm looking forward less to that talk than the sex talk. Actually, no, the sex talk, I could probably talk about addiction easier than the mechanisms of sex.
Yeah, but you have a son though. So
what does that mean?
It'll be easier for you to talk about sex.
Did you have to have the talk with your daughter?
No, my wife did.
Your wife did. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because it was like,
was that a relief?
That she did it?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Were you outside the door like this is happening right now?
I don't even think I was home. I think I came home and she just told me.
We had the talk 6 months ago.
Something like that, yeah.
My mom had the talk with me because my parents were divorced.
I'm still waiting.
My dad taught me how to ride a bike. Lisa and I were talking about this today. I'm going to have to teach my kid how to ride a bike. Cool. Like, I'm not a big sports guy. I enjoy a good game of catch like the next guy. Yeah. But did my dad teach me catch with the Little League, but he wasn't there when I needed to learn how to shave because he was at work and my parents were divorced. And the sex talk, my mom had to have it with me, and it was weird, man. And you know, it didn't fill in enough blanks. There was a bunch of information that I've been like 9 years old, and I'm like, wait, what? Like
9?
Yeah, 5th grade, because we were starting to like ask girls out. So I was like, oh God, here it goes. This is how it works. Like sperm and egg, how that works. But I'm like, wait, how does the sperm come? Where does it come from? Like, I didn't understand. Like, do you pee it out? Like, I didn't get what was going on.
I learned it the old-fashioned way. The older kids in the neighborhood.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I'm still waiting for the talk. Yeah, I never had it.
You never,
never had the talk. No, yeah, no. It was like sex was bad. It's like I can remember one time. Once I was when I was like I guess junior or senior in high school, and there was this girl. I don't even remember if she was a girlfriend or just a friend. And my bedroom was in the basement of the house, and we were down there. And I had records on. I remember my mother pounding on the door
because the girl was down there.
Because the girl was down there.
That used to be like if a girl was in the house and they went into a room and the door closed. That was like holy shit.
And it was like, I mean, I think it was just a friend, because I remember just being like, what the hell? You know, I thought the house was on fire, type of thing.
I remember that. The first girl I ever kissed, it was my stepsister's friend. Okay. And she came over, and she came upstairs into my bedroom. The door was open, but we were upstairs, and my mom was down. I remember my mom came to the staircase. She's like, "What are you doing up there?" It's like just existing at the moment. Yeah. I didn't know what the hell to do with myself. I was in 6th grade.
Yeah, I mean, I know, like, now I fear for any guys that come around though. With my daughter.
Oh yeah,
I'd be bad, because I was bad. I remember when my daughter was born. I remember one of my sisters saying to me, "Just don't be like you were with us," because I'm like, I have 3 younger sisters, and I used to like chase guys away.
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, it depends. Yeah.
What if they were bigger though than you?
It didn't matter. It was like there was the whole thing. It was my sister, so I guess there was the whole thing. I mean, there were guys that they absolutely would have just taken me to pieces, but I guess it was the whole thing that it's like. You know, because my parents were divorced.
You're like an inconvenience. Like, it's ain't worth it.
You know what?
Maybe that's why they ran, because you were like a big inconvenience.
Or it was that, or it was just either like not worth it, or it was like, oh, this is serious. This is like
this is why, you know, having a son, I'm never going to chase girls away. That'd be weird. Imagine you chase girls away. Don't you have sex with my son. But
yeah, no, I don't think that'll.
but I could see, like, I might have a daughter one day. And like, yeah, a lot of these kids I see out there, I'm like, look at these pieces of shit. And I was a piece of shit until my late 20s, for God's sake. Like, I wasn't set or have a career. Like, you want to see a guy who has got his shit going for him, and you go, oh, okay. And he's got benefits.
I mean, I couldn't tell Sal. I couldn't tell you how many dads slammed doors in my faces in high school. I was like, I looked like a reject. This is the 80s. I looked like a reject from Guns N' Roses.
You had a little powder in your mustache.
I have a little powder.
No, you did at the time, because you were cocaining it.
No. I mean, it's like I said. I was afraid of getting hooked. I
was kidding.
Oh,
yeah, I was just making.
No, but I had
imagery.
Long hair, ripped jeans, shredded everything. I had a Grim Reaper. Still have Grim Reaper tattoo.
You should go on stage with that.
What?
Like that, dressed like that.
Oh my God,
that'd be great.
I think that'd be pathetic. Like, now, I'm just not that guy. I mean, I'm like looking into covering it up.
Yeah, but you made sure you kept the Grim Reaper. That was like your symbol going through life, wasn't it?
It was.
You got it tattooed on you, but it used to be on your jacket. Is that how that worked?
No, it was like I had the stupid Grim Reaper. When I was, tattoos weren't even legal in New York at the time. That's
what? They used to be illegal?
Yeah.
What you put in your skin?
Yeah. It was like, it was legal in like Long Island, I believe.
So you'd have to go to Long Island?
In the city, in the 5. It was in Brooklyn.
Wait, so at the time, there'd be hookers walking the streets, sex shops all around Times Square, peep shows, but you could not get a tattoo.
Yeah.
You could get a meat tattoo. You couldn't get a tattoo.
Yeah. And I remember my cousin it was in 86. It was March so I was like almost 16. I was a baby, and it was like the day I was like, well, I'm going to be a rock star. Ozzy's my favorite. Ozzy's got a Grim Reaper on his chest. I'm going to get a Grim Reaper on my arm as an homage. So when I'm famous and people, they're
like, oh man, his interviews inspired by Ozzy. Yeah.
And I'm going to be the coolest guy.
So you weren't one of those guys who was like really into Judas Priest, and then they all found out they were gay, and they were like, oh man, I can't believe you brought that up. Because
I get abused about that at least 3 times a week.
My friend Jimmy grew up in late 80s or whatever, and he's a metal guy. He loves Pantera, But he told me, he was like, yeah, there was guys in the 80s, they loved Judas Priest, so they'd walk around dressed in those chaps and stuff. And you all thought it was straight.
I had the hat. I had the studded bracelets.
Yes.
I had a vest, studded vest. Yeah, I had all that stuff. And
then what happened one day?
And it's like I walked. I was dressed like Rob Halford. I went to school. I went everywhere dressed like Rob.
And it was something like only gay guys knew.
I could
like
show
they
you a
don't
text
know.
I just got the other day. Well, I'm not gonna, it's a podcast, but I get just like Thursday or something. An old friend of mine brought it up. Like,
do you have pictures
how did you not of me
like that with a little cocaine in your mustache?
There's no cocaine in my mustache.
I can't paint a better picture of a homosexual. You have assless chaps.
You know what?
And it's like tattoo, nipples showing.
I just thought he was just like a tough guy or whatever, just like a metal thing. It never occurred to me that he's dressed exactly like the guy from the Village People, who everybody. And then when he came out, I was
that like the conspiracies like Terrible Tim was doing back then? He was like, if you look at both of them.
But when he came out, I was probably like 19, 20, it was like late 80s, early 90s, I guess, when he
came out. So how did he come out back then? There was no internet.
It was a radio
TMZ
interview.
And what he was just like, I love dick.
It was no. What happened?
Did you not notice why there's no ass in my chaps?
I was pulling up in front of my mom's house. I was parallel parking, and I went up on the curb because I'm listening to this. And he says, "Yeah," he says, "I've my whole life been a gay man." He says, "I've never hit it." He says, "Nobody ever asked." And he says, I don't know how people didn't know. Look at the way I dressed. Every outfit I wear on stage was bought in like a gay sex shop in Soho in England or London, whatever. And I was like, oh my God, I've been dressing like a gay S&M guy all through high school.
And your dad knew the whole time.
They bought me the stuff. I mean, it's like, because I was a kid. It's like, they'd be like, what do you want for your birthday? And I was like, well, Silver City on Forest Avenue has got this really cool bracelet with big studs on it. I want. Wow. My dad had a jewelry store, 2 jewelry stores on Forest Avenue. One of them was in the Path.
I didn't know you were Jewish.
No, not at all. But
I said he had jewelry stores.
And one of them was in the Pathmark on I don't know what it is now. It was the Pathmark Mall on
over here,
right by Mother Pug's.
Yeah, that's Stop and Shop now. I remember when it was Pathmark.
And he had a little store.
I call it the Black Stop and Shop.
And Silver City was over there, and it was like that was like I bought all my clothes in there, and all it was my whole wardrobe was like concert T-shirts and gay men studying.
And how much when that came out? How much leather do you think went in the garbage that night?
That night, I mean, I remember, and I pulled it all out. I wasn't wearing it anymore, except unless I was going to like to see like a.
Did you start seeing like
19 or 20 at that
hordes
time.
of homeless people wearing that clothing because everybody was just throwing it in donation boxes?
I guess. Well, I mean, South Shore of Staten Island, there were not too many heavy metal guys.
Really?
No, it was very much like, it was like everybody looked. Even in the 80s,
they were discoers.
Everybody still looked like Tony Manero. You know what I mean? It was like I stuck out like a sore thumb.
Speaking on that, well, when you showed up to your girlfriend's doorsteps with that,
that's how the kid, because they would slam the door.
Well, they weren't worried at all. They're like, "Oh, he's gay. He's not going to make any moves."
I don't know if it was that. Or I looked like a.
I never had doors slammed in my face. I was literally thinking about this yesterday. Is they were definitely judging me, and I don't blame them. I was a punk rocker. I had a fucking clothespin in my ear. I had torn jeans. I looked like a piece of shit, and I'm showing up to take their daughter. I was with their daughter for a while, and I thought they were assholes then, but honestly, Jesus Christ, they were very lenient with me based on what I looked like, And
it's like, and it's like, so like people will say to me, well, since that was like what you went through, what are you going to be like, with your daughter? And I was like, no, I understand the fathers now. That's how I look.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's one thing I hated. My dad would always say to me, every parent always says, you'll see one day when you disagree with them. And you can't even fathom that they're going to be correct at the time. So I just know whatever I say to my son, none of it's going to get through to him. None of it's going to get through to him.
Yeah. Well, at least, you're ahead of the game.
Am I? How?
Yeah. You realize it.
I have all the knowledge. I'm like Adam and Eve after I bit the apple. I have all the knowledge and I can't do anything with it.
But the thing is, it's like, it's not that they don't, it sinks in. They just think you're wrong. But at least.
Yeah, and you got to wait 20-something years until they go, oh, shit, you were right.
No, but it's there. It's you just got to remember that everything you're telling them.
I'm not a patient person, Ronnie.
Back here
Rodney, I'm not a patient person.
Because, Carter, and if your future kids, there's going to be situations, they're going to come up. They'll be somewhere. They'll be with friends. They'll be at a party. and something will come up, but you'll be like something you would warn them about will be in the back of your head. That's what you just got to tell yourself. You just do the best you can.
I really hope, because I've been a union carpenter over 10 years now in the union, and it just occurred to me like a few weeks ago, and it was something Lisa brought out of me. She's like, "Do you ever thank your dad for like forcing when he pushed me into the carpenters union? I didn't want to do it. I just did it. I had nothing else going on. I dropped out of college." He's like, "Just go sign up for this thing, like, and just see what happens." And I did. And I started doing it. I hated it for years. And then I turn around. It's been over 10 years. And oh my God, I have a house. I have a family. I could afford things. Barely. But like I have a life, because he took me and said, "No, you're going this way." And it took 10 years throughout my adult life to turn around and go, "Oh shit, thanks for like doing that little move gave me a future and gave my son a future." Like if he never did that, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, like with me, like with my dad, like when I was in like senior in high school or junior in high school, I was a complete utter knucklehead. I was just a train wreck. And it's like my way of justifying it with myself was, I wasn't going to school and stuff. I was like, oh shit, the kid's gonna watch it. Whatever. But yeah, I was like, I would like ditch all the time, and it's like I didn't do hard drugs or anything. I smoked pot sometimes, but I drank a lot, and it's like my way of justifying it was like, well, it's just booze, whatever. Which,
by the way, is more dangerous than any of those things except heroin.
It was but it's like I was a kid, and I was like young and stupid, and I remember my dad and my mom they like forced me. Here I am, like this, like Rob Halford dressing kid with long hair, like an idiot in Guns N' Roses, with gay stuff on.
Gay stuff. And, I was just wearing gay. That's the name of my store on Forest Avenue. Gay stuff.
And they made me get a job at McDonald's.
Dildo necklace.
Which was like it was like a nightmare to me. It was like this was like the worst possible thing. But the thinking behind it was like twofold. It was like get used to working. And get used to working with people, because it was like all different walks of life, and working at McDonald's.
Yeah,
and it was like it was like the best thing. Like when I look back now, best thing that ever happened to me. If they didn't do that, like getting like late in high school, I can't even imagine what would have.
I remember I
can't even imagine
dying to go to work. I went and got working permits so I could have a paper out.
Yeah,
and then my first job at Gennaro's. Just to have a little money coming in. But like, yeah, I remember I hit a point when I was like 19 where my friends were starting to apply for like city jobs to have a career. And I was like, shit, wait, I don't want to decide the next 30 years of my life. Right. And I would panic. And I was like, I don't know why my mind switched. Or I was like, no, it's great. Thank God I have a career right now. I wish I thought of this shit sooner. Yeah. It's this weird panic shit. I don't know. And I just saw how hard my mom and my dad had to work. And then I'm a month in. Lisa takes care of the kid the majority of the time, especially when I'm at work, and she goes through it with that. And then I come home after working these crazy shifts, and dude, it's hard. I don't know how people do it with multiple kids. It's insanity.
Yeah, I don't. When I think like I'm the oldest of 5, and it's like I remember like the first 4 were the fourth, my sister, the second to the youngest. I was 7.
Was your Judas Priest clothing like hand-me-downs? Like you grew into them from your older brother?
No, I bought them all. I don't have an older. I'm the oldest.
Oh, you're the oldest.
I'm the oldest, and I have 3 younger sisters and a younger brother. And like the second to the youngest, I was only 7. So it's like, so by the time I was 7 years old, I'm like, I think about it now, like, well, how the hell my father was always working? How the hell my mother did this? She had a 7-year-old. I mean, I was all boy. I would like climb out windows with like a towel tied around my neck. I'm gonna
jerking off.
And then a 7-year-old knucklehead and then 3 babies. I don't know.
By the way, did you notice that coffee never came? Since this kid's come, Lisa doesn't snap 2 anymore.
Well, you're down on the priority list now,
I used to be like at the top.
Yeah, you were. You're not anymore.
It used to go me, then the dog. That's how that worked.
Yeah, well,
I feel bad for the dog. He's way down there.
Yeah, but it's all good. It's the way it's supposed to be.
No, it is. It's fine.
I
should have got the coffee beforehand. What was I thinking?
Well, you made me the coffee. It was very good, by the way.
I always give my guests the coffee, but I had one right before you came, and I was jittery when you first came, so I thought, let me skip on this. Sal making good decisions.
There you go.
Wow.
There you go.
It's so weird. Do you think people who don't have kids could even relate to talking about this? I've been trying to get Antonio Girorato in here to have a daddy cast so we could talk, because me and him going through it at the same time pretty much. He's 5 months ahead of me.
And so it's fun. Like when Antonio, he like his son had colic, like my daughter had colic, and it was like when he had mentioned it, one day I said, how's the baby? And he mentions, I went through the same thing. And then on the way like it was at the one of the West End things, I think. And on the way back, I'm on the bus, and I remembered, I remember the trick that we did, like with vacuum cleaners. You turn the vacuum cleaner, it would calm the kid. So I
Are you serious?
Yeah. So I messaged him on Facebook, and it's like, he came back. He thought I was like giving him an idea for a bit. And I was like, no. I'm
turn on the vacuum cleaner and then tell your wife, get to it.
But that's like
the thing is though, if I turn on the vacuum cleaner, it might calm the kid down, but then it might get the dog going. It's a catch-22. That's crazy because we do notice the kid does, when things are louder, get calm all of a sudden. And
it's like
that's kind of scary psychologically. Like, does that mess them up later?
Well, I think the
like they need loud noises to calm down.
Well, the vacuum cleaner thing was because somebody told me
white noise.
Well, because the vacuum cleaner. It's I don't know if my wife, when she researched the colic, because she was like one of those people, researched everything, like anything that happened with the kid. She's like, and it was like something like the sound of the vacuum cleaner to like a tiny infant sounds to them like the sound of the like being in utero.
I think some guy wrote that book back then as a way to like get the wife back to cleaning the house. I don't know if that's a real thing.
But it was actually it didn't work because it was me a lot of the time, because the colic would kick in like late at night, and we had this like little auric for like the steps, and it had a strap, and I'd be wearing it like a backpack and like carrying my daughter around. And it burned out like 3 or 4 of those things. If
my kid was colicky, I don't know if I'd be standing before you right now. Because I've definitely gotten off easy, because he's not a bad kid. Yeah. There's moments where it's like, oh my God, what is it now? Like, we keep trying and you keep crying, but it does break at some point.
Yeah.
The word colic, I lived in fear of that before the kid. I worked with a kid at the Goethals Bridge, night shifts, and he would just tell me, he's like, my kid will not stop crying. It is the worst thing I've ever gone through. And I'm like, oh God, what if he's like that? And he's not.
That's why I have
still
one.
Hard.
It is. That's why I have one.
I want
nature's natural birth control.
I want a girl. I want another kid. But after what we did, firstly, after watching Lisa push the kid out, I was like, I can't ever put her through this again.
Yeah.
Then number 2, going through this period of half of a year or whatever it's going to be until like you could maintain normalcy again. I'm like, why would we ever who does this to themselves? I mean, I get you got to procreate, but Jesus Christ. And I got infuriated. You know the comic, what the fuck is her name? She was in the Dice Clay show. She played his girlfriend. Her name, Natasha Leggero.
The Dice Clay show.
Yeah, that was on Showtime. It was a good show. He played. I'm gonna tell you.
Oh, okay.
Natasha Leggero. She was also in that movie Let's Be Cops. I'm gonna show you right now. Ready? Natasha Leggero.
Is she the one that opened up for him?
According to Wikipedia, Natasha Leggero is an American actress.
See her?
Okay.
Anyway, she just had a kid recently with some male comic, some Jewish male comic. He's like, just, I don't know, his name's like Nisho or something. Whatever. The point is, they had a kid they were talking about in an interview, and she was like, she didn't have to go through any of this because she just went, no, that's crazy. I just hired a nanny to take care of that part of it. And it's like, you stupid bitch. Like, as much as this sucks, you can't not go through it. Like, you got to bond with your kid. And it made me furious that people could just buy their way out of things.
Yeah, I mean, I work ridiculous amount of hours, and it's like, and it kills me that, like, the stuff. Put it this way, it's like I always tell people, like, and I'll tell you now if I haven't mentioned it before. I mean, it's try to never miss anything. You know? I mean, it's impossible. I mean,
it's impossible.
It's impossible. But like, put it this way, like when like grade school, between like Christmas plays and dance festivals and pageant things, there's like 100 different things. By the time they're in, kids in 5th grade that they've been. I missed one, and that's what I think of.
Really,
I missed a Christmas, and I think of it all the time. That I missed that Christmas festival.
Do you know what I think of? And it doesn't have to do with the kid, but one time Lisa went on her first like long run with like you wear a number, like a competitive run.
Mm-hmm.
And I had worked like the night before, and I was really tired. So I was like, all right, you go do your run. I dropped her off, and I went to sleep in the car. And I didn't watch her cross the finish line. And I didn't realize when I put my head down to go to sleep how much that was going to hurt people. And it did. And I can't take it back. Yeah, I don't want many more of those, Rod.
No, I mean, you don't ever want to hurt anybody. I mean, like, I still, like, after Sandy, because I was like, remember?
I want to get into Sandy with you, actually.
All right.
But go ahead, after Sandy.
It's like, well, I mean, anybody who's like, that they don't know me. I mean, I'm like, you put it perfectly. You hosted there was a bar show on Highland Boulevard, and you were the host.
Oh, Joe Broadway's.
Right. And you called me, and it was like right down the block from my house. And you called me up by saying, this neighborhood was hit by Sandy. You know how they said if you don't leave, you're an asshole. Well, this next guy swam out of his house like he's an asshole, and it's like that was it. I was like, nothing's gonna happen, and I like refused to.
Well, because it's easy to say. I'm learning this a lot now.
Say like you don't want to like you say like with the finish line thing. When I refused my wife, my daughter, and at the time her grandmother lived with us, and they were all out, and I swam out of the house, and they couldn't get a hold of me for a while, and they knew a storm surge had come in, and there was like, well, they didn't know if I was
alive or dead.
And when I got to our friend's house a couple hours later, still soaked and filthy and everything, they were my wife and they were crying, and it's like, but the hurt, I could see the hurt. It was like there was like no. Like, oh my God, thank God you're okay. It was hurt. And it's like, I don't ever want to see that in like my wife and kids' eyes again.
Yeah.
It was like, especially like my daughter, because she was only 10. And it's like, and she was like, how could you do this?
I gotta go back to being
with your life. And what would we,
I gotta go back to being like selfish again. Like that guy who had the traumatic brain injury from the car accident.
Right.
And he was just so happy. And I just think about, well, I'm so selfish that I would be like miserable, I mean, I guess he had to come to grips with it to keep going on. But I also get like when you're stuck in traffic, I start to think like Thanos, like, you know what? Half of us really need to die. There's just way too many of us. So now when you look at it, there's so many of us now. There's so many human beings on this planet. There's way too many. We're eating enough for like 3 planets worth of people that it's like when you look at it from a cold business sense, a lot of us got to go. But you take one person out of the picture, you just destroyed the lives of a family somewhere. You don't realize how much they get hurt by that.
The ripple effect.
It is insane how one person who they seem insignificant in the big picture because there's so many of us, they had like the world to some like little girl somewhere.
You don't. It's like It's a Wonderful Life thing. You don't.
Mary.
The impact. Mary, don't you remember me, Mary? It's like you don't realize the effect on people that you haven't met yet. Like you took like going to see like at Caroline's and that. I remember you referred to me. I was your swing state. It's like like the first time you got to have like 8.
Right.
So if I died and if I drowned in Sandy, you may not have gotten up at the Monday night show at Caroline's because you only had like
that would have ruined
6
everything.
or 7.
Oh wow. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Before we get into Sandy, you were talking about how like you parked in front of my neighbor's house and you were worried that they would be mad, right?
You never know. Yeah.
Parking, I won the parking war recently on my block.
God bless you.
I'm going to say this on a microphone now. I was trying to keep it secret. I did a little secret. I'm a hero to some, and I'm probably an asshole to others, The parking situation on my block is severe. It's bad.
Mine too.
It's a one-way, and my driveway is a shared driveway, so nobody's allowed to park in it. You could pass through it to go to my garage and go in there, but nobody could stay in it. So I try to avoid having to park in my garage. So there was balance on my block. I usually get a spot in front of my house. My neighbor usually gets a spot behind me. You can fit 2 people in front of my house. Sometimes there's an asshole, some rogue element who's not from this block, and they will take up both spots, and it fucks people over. Now, my neighbor next door to me, her husband's got to be like a football player in Canada, I think, and he goes away. So she's like on her own with the kids. She doesn't have it easy. They got 2 cars. The car that they use every day, they always go down the driveway and they park into their space where they could park. But the car that they don't use ever, they leave it on the street. So now a parking spot has been taken off the board, right? So now my neighbor moves in across the street. He's never been able to park in front of his house. So that leads him to either block his own driveway or park in front of my house, which then the domino effect throws my neighbor, whatever. Next to him is this family. They got 2 cars. They use one all the time and one they never use. So now this car of my next door neighbor is across the street that they never use. It's been there for months and months and months, right? Mm-hmm. And we somehow got by. Now, one day, the podcast we did before the Fifth Borough Comedy Festival, Mike Sicoli pulls onto my block with Kirshner in the car. They start backing into the spot behind the car that never moves. And there's always usually a spot there. And then they hit.
I watched the
yes,
spot, yeah.
And they hit my other neighbor's car behind me. So now, since then, she always pulls up an extra few inches, so nobody could park there anymore. So now another parking spot's off the board. Oh. Then, so the brick house next to my neighbor with the car that doesn't move, if you can still follow with this, they got 2 cars, one they never use. One day they park it in front of my house. They park up just enough that when people try to park in front of them in my spot, they block my driveway. So now I'm losing it, Rod. I am losing it.
Yeah, no,
so I do my research, and it turns out in New York City, you can't be parked for more than 72 hours without moving. So I start reporting motherfuckers on 311.com. They respond immediately to the first call that's been there for months, and they write the date on the tire. My neighbor next door to me, whose car it is, they don't see this for days. So I'm
Oh.
like, all right, another couple of days, that car's out of here, you know?
What if it's in front of your own house?
Yeah.
Still?
That's public property,
Oh wow. Okay.
right? But I'm not reporting to anybody when it's not causing a problem. But come on now, like we're all having issues here.
Yeah.
How greedy can you be? So the car in front of my house now that never moves, I report that car. They have a police emblem. I don't know if they're friends or family or a cop.
Mm-hmm.
On his license plate says Fotingo. So that's what I call him, Fotingo. Yeah. So the cops responded to the first car. The second car, they came, they did nothing and walked away from it and put no action needed. I'm like, but there's no difference between this car and that car. Is it because of the police emblem? Yeah. So now I put in a complaint, right? The cops show up at my door. And I was like, oh God, you're going to get me busted here. And they were like, what's your problem? I was like, listen, literally, I told them the situation. But right before they showed up, somebody came to that car. It's this woman. She drives in an Accessoride that she had bought and made it her own. And she keeps animals in it. Mm-hmm. Totally not the person I thought had anything to do with this car. She just comes on the block once in a while and parks. She moves the car and puts it right back. So now she's not in violation anymore. So I think somebody tipped her off. Right? Okay. So now the cops come. I was like, yeah, but literally they just moved. So whatever. They're like, well, you could just ring their doorbell. And I'm like, I don't want to have problems. I'm a pussy. Like, and they're that much of an asshole. I'm not mad. So I put the complaint in again. The cops come down the block again. And I guess my neighbor finally saw the writing on her car across the street. She moved it, put it in the driveway in the back parking area where it should be. So that got resolved. And in the same day, the car in front of my house got a ticket. I came home that day, Rod, and I felt like I had won a war. I went to my neighbors who were being most affected by those spots. And I was like, hey, do you notice how you have parking in front of your house today? They're like, yeah, it's the weirdest thing. And I was like, you're welcome. They were like, you did this. I was like a superhero to them. I felt great.
Well, I could end up, if like in my neighborhood, because like I don't have a driveway and the parking is horrible. Like same thing. It's brutal on my block. I mean, like my direct neighbors, like that 2-3 houses like next to me and across the street, 2-3 houses. It's like everybody pretty much, you respect, you got your own parking spot and you don't, I mean, I'll drive around for like 20 minutes before I would like take my neighbor's spot, like where they always park their car, type of thing. But like we have the 2 cars. We have the Jeep and then we have a Focus, and the Focus we really don't use that much, and that always sits in front of my house. And it's like, but we always leave it there because like in case, like, and we park like the Jeep in front of it, which is half in front of my house, half in front of my neighbors.
So you're Bogart in both spots.
Well, no. I'm Bogarting the one spot in front of my house, but like our.
Isn't that a great word, by the way, Bogarting? I love that.
And it's like, but like our parking spot that's respected, like with the neighbors, is like the one right in front. But if somebody has company or whatever, then I can move the Focus, and then I have a spot in front of my house.
But the thing is it fucking anybody over?
No,
that's the thing. This domino effect started messing up with people.
Yeah.
You can't have that.
Yeah.
So you lost your home in Hurricane Sandy, right? Would you call it losing it? They eventually built it back, but you were we
lost everything.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, we lost everything. Yeah, it was.
I was thinking, I was coming up the stairs today to use the restroom, and I was looking around at my house, and I was like, could you imagine, like, one day there's a storm, and this is just gone, like, and you have to drop everything else in your life to figure this situation out. I couldn't even fathom what you went through, man. And it happened to Lisa's parents, too. Like, it's not an easy thing. And I worked the program where we built some people's houses back, and it's been 6 years, and they're still not back in their houses.
It's bad. It's bad. And it's like, we were out for 2 years. And it's like, honestly, it's like, we're talking about like having like kids and that. And the only reason I didn't give up, like 6 months in, it's like, fuck it, I'm walking away. We'll just go like rent an apartment until, save up to buy another house. It's because of my daughter. Because, it's like this, she lost everything. I mean, everything.
How old was she then? 12?
10. She was 10. And because her bedroom was on the first floor and the back room was like her playroom. And what happened, like the year before was Hurricane Irene or Eileen or something where they said, everybody's got to leave. And we left.
And nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
I remember
I turned off the gas. I did everything right. And when I couldn't light the pilot on my water heater, and it was making me nuts. And I ended up, I just couldn't get it on. I had neighbors that were like, handy guys like you, and they couldn't get it on. I had to call a plumber.
It cost you money.
He was in my house for 30 seconds, and it cost me $250. He called it the Hurricane Irene flat rate.
Scumbag.
Yeah.
So
then the next year
I remember this because I was still away in the Army, and Hurricane Irene was hitting New York, and Lisa left the apartment too that we eventually lived in together. And I remember people left their homes because the government told them to. This is going to be bad. Nothing happened, and some people even got looted because of it. One of my mother's students died in the South Shore. Died in the Hurricane Sandy because the previous hurricane they left, nothing happened. Their house got looted. So the next time the father was like, we're not going anywhere. And then the water came in and their house collapsed on them. Everybody died but the mother.
Yeah. So,
but I used to walk around going, I remember seeing, because we were on the highest point on Staten Island right now. And when you're on Toad Hill, you're on the highest point of the Eastern Seaboard. So it's easy for me to say, not leave. All I lost was electric for a few days. You know what I mean? I'm not flooding. But Hurricane Irene, with the rain, it actually flooded through the toilet. So I used to be like, but they said, you know, leave. People didn't leave. They're dumb for not leaving. But I could see now why people didn't leave. I wouldn't want to fucking leave my house.
And I honestly, I mean, it was.
And go where? Living in the high school down the block for.
Yeah. I was like, I really thought at the time I was like, no. I was like, no. I was like, it's not gonna happen. Nothing's gonna happen.
I need a coffee. God.
You know, and that was my mindset. It's like it's gonna be like last year. And what happened? Some people were leaving, and I remember like there were like people like had like the stuff tied to the tops of their cars, and all this, and they were leaving. And my daughter was watching this out the window. This is like the day before, like so, you know, you had to like by 6 o'clock, and I could see she was getting scared. And I was like, and so I said to my wife, I said like, you know, let's just send her for like a, you know, because friends would say, you know, she can come stay. So, send her for like, you know, like a sleepover or whatever. You know, so at least she's like not here watching people like that are getting scared and that, because I really thought nothing's gonna happen. And then the next day, you know, like as the day was going on and the water was, you know, nothing was even happening yet, but you could see the water coming up
before the storm hit.
Yeah,
because I remember the storm. I was at my mother's in Oakwood. We went over there, and I remember the wind picking up hard. Yeah. And I remember watching streetlights in the distance start going off and start coming closer and closer to the darkness.
Yeah, and
so like, the water came up first. I was always trying to understand what this flood looked like. Did it look like people picture like a tsunami came rushing in? It was like a slow creep until eventually you were surrounded by it?
It was a slow creep until the storm surge. And it was like, you know, like it was like in the morning, you know, I could see like a little, like, you know, there was water in the street and that. And, oh, here's your coffee.
Oh, hey, you brought a coffee. You're an angel. Thank you.
I tune in every 2 seconds. So.
Thank you so much. I was kidding.
It's all right.
He really wasn't.
Lisa, the coffee. Fuck.
He's mentioned it about 8 times. So I wasn't.
Well, this was the first time.
Thank you, sweetie.
Bye.
Much love. Go ahead.
And so, you know, so you see the water coming up like as the day was going on. And then,
so you're watching it. It's daylight, because I remember it started to pick up the storm. I'm sorry to keep interrupting. I just want to build a frame of reference for anybody who's isn't familiar with Hurricane Sandy in 2012. So at night it was dark when like the wind really started to pick up and the hurricane was setting. So this is like daytime. You're noticing
daytime.
You live by the water, by the marina over there.
Yeah, I'm like right by the like.
So you're saying it's getting higher, like in terms of what? Like you started to see the boats that were parked there start to get surrounded, or
no, the boats are like a few blocks over. And, you know, I just saw like water in the street, and you could see like down, like at the end, like there's a seawall at the end of my block, and you could see that there was like maybe like, you know, a few inches of water down there.
Really?
Yeah. It was like, I guess it was coming up through like the sewers. And so it's like, all right, it's like, okay, we're going to get some flooding here, but that happens, you know, if there's like a nor'easter.
So you see that normally when there's like a big storm?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You would get like, it would like my house is like, you know, 5-6 feet up or so. So you'd see, so I said, okay, it's going to be a case where it's like, you know, maybe we're going to have like, you know, up to the second step of the stoop, you know, I'm going to get water in the crawl space, you know, but that's happened like 10 times. And I'm thinking that's what it's going to be. And then like, as the day was going on, and then they cut the power.
Cut the power.
Power. And I was working from home. I was like, you know, I was like, looking, okay, this is just a day off for me. I'm working from home on a lap, you know, company laptop or whatever.
How did your Japanese overlords take that? I can't work today.
This was with, I was with the Israelis then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And, you know, my boss, he was great. He was fantastic.
They always say the Jews are the best boss. I was always told, don't work for an Italian. He's going to be the biggest asshole. Work for a Jew. They're the best bosses.
I worked for Italians too. I've worked all different kinds of banks.
Who was the best?
Who was the best? Well, the best was my boss at the Israeli place. He wasn't Jewish though.
Okay.
Yeah, but he was the best. But anyway, so, you know, so I'm working from home, and then they cut the power. And, you know, so I you know, called them on my cell phone, and I said, well, you know, so I don't know how much, you know, more I'm going to have the battery life. So I'll probably like, you know, just finish up at about 4:30. And like I said, we'd already, my wife's grandmother was out, and we'd sent my daughter to over to friends, just to stay overnight or whatever. And we figured we'd come, she'd come back in the morning. And my wife, when the power got cut, she was like, "Well, I'll go over there for now, if it, until you come later." I was like, "I'm not coming anywhere."
Except here in my house
I was like,
alone.
"I'm staying here." I was like, "I'm staying here." I said, "Because if I was like, I said, this is ridiculous." I said, "Go ahead." I said, and she said, "Well, if it gets to be before you get like to where you can't get out." But again, we weren't thinking like destruction. My wife was like on the same page as me. It's like, it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be a thing where we're gonna be, but don't be trapped in the house, because there were times it was like 3 feet of water out in the street. You're not going anywhere. And it was just like just stay here. When it starts getting too deep, move the cars up to higher ground. It's like, all right, whatever. And then it's just when it actually hit, what happened was, like, I was just going, like, I just went into like the back room of the house, and I could see like there was like water. Are we good?
Oh yeah, you just keep going. I checked the sound.
All right. And and I could see there was like water on the floor in the back room, and now I'm just pissed. I mean, I'm still completely in denial, and I'm just mad. I was like, "God damn it!" I was like, it's gonna end up damaging the wood floors, and
all the food's gonna spoil.
And it's like my way of what I did was I grabbed a towel and put a towel by the back door.
That's going to do it. You're going to stop the most destructive hurricane in New York's history with the towel. Rodney and his towel.
Total denial.
Did you run to neighbors' houses with the towel and save the day?
and then I'm like,
is this fucked up? I kind of sometimes hope like a storm will come and ruin my wood floor or my roof, so I could get a new roof and floor without paying for it.
No, you don't want. We'll get into that. In a nutshell, otherwise it'll take too long.
Yeah, go ahead.
But
so you got your towel.
So I got the towel. I put the towel down, and then I'm like looking around at my daughter. Like, she was actually, we never had to like yell at her to clean up her toys. She had all these like plastic, like the big storage bins.
Oh yeah, I use those.
And when she was done playing with stuff, she would put them away. She was great with it. So I'm looking at all these things, and I'm like thinking, well, God damn it. I was like thinking, well, I don't know if there's a crack in the bottom or anything. So I'm just picking them up and putting them on. Like, she had like a craft table. I just put them on. It was like, that was about like 2 feet high. Put them on the craft table. And think, all right, I'm good.
This is enough.
I'm good. And I was like, well, I got to go change my socks now, because now my socks are wet. I go upstairs.
There's that much water in the house.
Well, because like the back room, it was like down one step, and it got it. Like I said, it got in.
How are you not? If there was water in my house in any capacity, even if it's a puddle, I'd be freaking the fuck out. I was
pissed. I wasn't. I was just. I guess it was just classic denial. I was just. Something just shut off, and it was like, I was just one of the assholes that like should have left. I mean, I very well could have died.
Yeah, you could have died.
I went upstairs.
You want to know something else? We talked about they cut the power, and that's infuriating. When I was building the houses back briefly in Breezy Point, right, really rich community in Queens, like people go there to vacation, and it's really expensive homes. Because they're so rich and influential, when the storm was happening, they said, "Don't you dare cut out power." And they had enough sway that the city did not cut their power because they said so, because it would inconvenience them. And that's why a ton of houses burned down. Like literally none of the houses over there by the Brooklyn Queens border would have burned down if those people weren't so rich and hoity-toity. Can you believe that? That they could say that? No, don't you dare cut our power.
It's the first I heard. I didn't hear about it.
I didn't know that till I was working there. They're like, a lot of these houses burned down because they have all sorts of say. Like, you couldn't work there until Labor Day because it would interrupt their summer vacationing. So anyway, go ahead.
So I went upstairs to change my socks, and I go and I.
Didn't you think they were going to get wet again?
I was going to just stay up. At this point, I'm thinking this is it. This is the worst it's going to be, because now it's like high tide.
Did the storm start yet?
It was just about to, because it was high tide. I think it was high tide.
What a recipe, right? It's high tide now. The storm is just starting.
Moon. It was everything. I didn't.
There was a solar eclipse.
I just really didn't think anything. And I said, okay, it's just like I said, like we would get 2-3 feet outside the house all the time. The back room was a little bit lower. So I said, all right. I said, well, high tide is in. So I said, now I'm going to go upstairs. I got to change my socks. I said, I'm just going to sit upstairs and wait for the tide to roll out. And then I'll go back downstairs. And by the time I got upstairs, I go to call my wife on my cell phone, because there's no power for the landline. And I was like, I have like almost like nothing, no
battery. You didn't charge ahead of time.
I called her real fast. I said, look, I have almost no battery left. I said, we got some water in the back
But
room.
my socks are dry. It's gonna be okay.
Got some water in the back room. I'm gonna ride it out for a little bit, and then I'll try to leave. And she's like, okay. And I hung up. In that time, that I went up the stairs, made that 10-second phone call. I hear this banging on my door, and I hear Rod, and then and I'm like, what the fuck? And then I hear bloop, 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 and I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm banging and screaming my name. And then as I'm going down this, I see this there's no power. I see this floodlight. I don't even know what. I guess my neighbor across had a generator or something, or big battery operated floodlight or something. And there was a kid 2 doors up, just trying because they knew I was home. Because they waited too. It was a couple of my neighbors, a bunch of my neighbors. Same thing. Nothing happened last year, but the storm surge was coming in, and now the bloop bloop was all the buckets that I put on falling into the water. So now I walk down and I see there's now 2 feet of water throughout my house, and the kid is banging on the door, and they're screaming, to get out, get out, get out, get out, and I'm just like numb. I'm just like, oh my God. And as I'm walking through the hallway in my house, I have a hole just like yours, kind of like with
on the second floor. Yeah.
And I'm walking through as I'm walking, the water's rising on me. Going
on the second floor?
The first floor.
Okay.
The first floor. I was in
my
bedroom.
Down.
I don't have a basement. I have a crawl space, first floor, and then we have a loft like this, but not like with low ceilings. And that's our master suite.
Okay.
So I go back down and say I'm walking down. As I'm walking down the hallway, the water's rising on me, and I'm like, "Oh my God!" And I'm just
Is it rising fast?
Yeah, because it's and so as it's right, and I'm watching stuff floating.
Oh
everywhere.
my God!
And then I walk into the living room. In the living room we had a carpet, and I could feel it buckling under me, and the kids banging. I'm coming. And now I can't get the door open.
Oh, because all the water pressure.
The water and the carpet buckled up and is blocking the door. This kid saved my life because I'm pulling the door, and he was a big burly biker kid, and he's put all his might and then just forced the door open. And when the door opens, his eyes are like this big, and I see my neighbor across the street holding the light, and it's it was like the ocean just rushing in. It was like
I try
waves.
to imagine what the streets looked like, because I remember that as soon as the storm was over, the next morning we woke up, it's sunny out, the storm is gone, the water's receded, and I went in the car with my mother and Lisa, and we drove down to where Lisa lived, where Mike Bichetti lives now, down by Newport Beach, and there was containers. It looked like a war zone, and I was like, so I went from being in the house to just where there's no power to the next morning everything's exploded here. So what did it look like when the fucking water was in the streets? That's what I try to picture.
It was coming waves. But
is it like waves when you're at the beach? They're like gentle waves, but they're just in the street, or they're like when you see tsunami videos on
yes.
Wow. And are they sweeping people away? How powerful are they?
It was people.
Because I try to put myself in this situation.
It was about at that. Well, put it this way. So then the kids go, "We gotta get out." Okay, and I'm thinking I'll be out in a minute. I'm just gone. And he's like, "Where are you going?" I was like, "I'm going to get my wallet." That would have made any difference. But I got my wallet, put it in my pocket, and I come out. I locked the door. I pulled the door. So I pulled it. Now the water, it's still rising. And now it's I'm on my stoop and the water's about here. So I'm trying to figure out how deep it is. And I was like, I can't see my gate. I can't see my fence.
It's up to your chest.
On the stoop, which means it's over my head probably or close to it. So, and I see people walking like this, walking through the street and holding things on the.
So it's up to their chin. They're holding their possessions above their head. Yeah. So, but it's not the surge isn't strong enough that it's knocking them over.
It was pushing. It was at this point, and I think it had already come in. The big surge had come in, and now it was just waves, secondary. I didn't when you see the stuff on the news, the tsunami, the first rush, that's what filled up the house kid saved my life. And he battled it to get to my door, to bang on my door to let me know. And by that, now it was just this, all the excess. And so I closed the door. I locked the door, pull it closed behind me. And I just dove in. And it was strong enough. I didn't have to swim. It's I remember, it was I couldn't go straight. So I was trying to judge where's the fence so I don't get stuck. And I remember I could feel like I have like a little brick wall with wrought iron, and I remember like just doing like little hops, and it pushed me, and I felt the wrought iron under my foot. So I was like, okay, I know I'm at the front, like where the gate is and that, and then I just like pushed off of it and just let the water push me.
And it took you guys up to Highland Boulevard?
Well, my block goes up like this.
Right on the hill.
I'd say it was about, I floated for about 2 houses maybe. Wow. Like I think I could touch, I think my toes could touch a little, and I would like do a little, or maybe I was sinking and did a little hop. Wow. And then, yeah.
So after all this.
And then after this, so then I get to where I can walk out now and walk up the hill towards Highland. And I walk up and I turn around and it's just black. And I just see, like, I could still see waves, but there's no street lights, no anything. And I see the waves coming.
Are cars floating at this point?
Everybody down there, we'd all moved.
Oh, so at least you had your
like
cars.
I said, we had like,
you had
like
your car keys with you?
Yeah, I put it in. I put my car when my wife was at a friend's, and I put the car that I was saying we always leave in front of the house was in the parking lot for the bank, and I put a note in there, because thinking it was just going to be for like a few hours. Please don't tow.
Right.
I just moved it to higher ground. I'll move it when I can, and so I'm seeing all the waves coming, and I'm seeing like neighbors, people swimming out. And when I first jumped over the fence, I see there was an old man who lived across the street, and I see his, I guess, kids came or something, and he was on like a pool raft, and they were pulling him on the pool raft, and it's like it was just so surreal,
right?
And
he's like some ancient king, and they're carrying him on their shoulders and his little,
pulling him through the water. And then when I get up to the top, and I'm standing there, and I'm just like watching this, and it's like you can't see the houses anymore, and it's like, because it's pitch black, and I don't know how deep it is down at the bottom.
And this is the end of October, so it's cold.
October 29th. Yeah. So, well, actually, it was actually fairly warm from what I remember that day.
Okay.
I think.
Look at me trying to guide the story.
Yeah. So, and then I'm standing and I see these blue flashes going like, and I'm like, what, those the Transformers? And one of my says, no, those are houses, because there was like townhouses that got leveled. Those are. And the little flashes are like, I guess,
them going out.
Yeah, I guess some kind of an explosion. These blue flash. I guess the power was out. So I don't know what it was, but it was some kind of an explosion. And it was just boom, boom, boom as they were getting, And I was, just, and that's when and then at that, as I'm watching that, then I hear people screaming. Oh, it's silent because there's no power, there's no cars going by on Highland Boulevard, and I hear just people screaming names. And it was just, it was like the end of the world. It's like people screaming names to make sure.
And at this point, I'm at home sleeping. Do you realize this? Like I have no conception because the flood waters didn't touch where we were.
It was only 6.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
because I remember it was dark when all the lights went out, and then I slept through the night just thinking, oh, it's a power outage.
6:30, 7 o'clock. It was in there. It wasn't that late.
Wow.
And and then somebody says, and I see this one kid who lived next door to me. When he wasn't a kid anymore, but I watched the kid grow up, and I see him come running with like another raft, another pool raft, and he dives in. So he dives into the on the pool raft because the next door neighbor, I think he was dating the girl next door, and her parents were still in the house, and he was going to try to get down there to get them.
Oh, he would have been the best boyfriend ever if he did that.
Yeah. So.
That's nuts. I remember too the next day when we realized the devastation, and we went down to where it all had happened in Newport Beach. We looked for Lisa's parents, and we went to the front door, and they didn't hear us. We were calling for them, so we thought, okay, they're not here. They got rescued and went to a shelter, and we proceeded to drive around to every shelter in Staten Island looking for them. Wouldn't you know, they were home the entire time. It was a crazy time. I remember calling my boss, going, "Listen, I don't think I can make it to work tomorrow." He was like, "Sal, this is like a catastrophe. Nobody cares about work tomorrow."
Yeah. And and finally when it just something I just said, well, so I tried calling my wife again. I had just tiny bit of battery. I don't remember this, but she told me that I called, and
your phone was still working? It wasn't
my cell.
It wasn't engorged with water in your pocket?
I don't know how that happened. I'll never understand how that happened. I guess I put it, I was wearing when I grabbed my wallet, I guess I grabbed the jacket, and I don't know. Somehow it just got
Okay.
insulated. It just,
Yeah, now the phones are pretty much waterproof, but
I don't know.
so you
Maybe-
called her and what'd you tell her?
Maybe I held it above my head when I was like, letting the water. I don't remember, but I called and I don't remember it. She said that I just said to her, I said, I'm out, I'm alive, everything's gone. And then the phone died.
That's crazy. That's dramatic.
But and that was like a good, probably because like I said, I was like watching the house, the little blue flashes of the explosions. I was like, just trying to see like I said, they were screaming names because you couldn't see the hand in front of your face because it was just pitch black.
Right, you forget how dark it really is out there when there's no lights.
Street lights anywhere or anything. It's pitch black, and you could see like moonlight on the water. That's so that's how you know how only way to judge how high up the water was, and you could still see the waves. But so everybody's screaming names, and you hear people screaming, "I'm here, I'm here," and then people going back in to try to and then I'm thinking I got to get to my family now. And so I just got in the car, but I was up there for probably a good half hour. I don't know. I have no idea.
And the house didn't collapse or anything, right?
No. So
thank God, because that's what could have happened with you inside. That's how my mother's student died.
Partial. It did. So so I went, and like I said, and I was saying before, like the hurt when I got to the friends' houses, and there's just the hurt because they still had electricity.
Wow.
In their part of Great Kills, there was still power, and they had like on the TV, it was like they were just showing all the storm surges in different parts of the city, and they showed a storm surge like on Staten Island, but it was one in Noodle, and I was just like, holy!
I never even seen what that looked like.
I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere, but I was just like watching. I was just like, oh, mother of God!
They say a lot of deaths didn't even get reported because they were like illegal immigrants living in basements and stuff.
I could,
yeah,
I don't know. See, the thing is,
the listeners gotta know
the terrible Tim thing because I have no proof except for what I know.
All right, well, what do you tell me what you know and what you could speculate on?
Well, there's nothing to speculate. This one I know, like when the next day, like you were saying, the amount of the devastation, there were boats on my block, like from the marina that floated. In front of my house, there was a piece of a dock, and that's where everybody was piling their junk in the sanitation. They were great, by the way. Sanitation, you guys, God bless you.
They were making a ton of overtime. They were loving it.
I mean, but it was just constant.
I think they were on mandatory,
but they were so nice
around the clock shifts,
and they were like they were just so nice, and they were going out of their way to help people.
You know how much money they made from that?
But they like if they saw somebody struggling with like a broken piece of furniture, they would come and take it, throw it on the truck, things like that. And it was constant. It wasn't like they came like every hour. It was like a nonstop
flow of trucks
for
Excellent.
like a week.
I'm glad to see that infrastructure is in place.
That worked. But so the next day, but there were boats. There was 2 boats on the corner of Goodall and Tennyson.
Okay.
Right? Like if you remember, like when you drive me back, you go down, there's all those there's like those like the fancy condos, the rich condos.
Yeah.
And the marina's right behind it. Those condos is where there was a picture that was everywhere of all those like small yachts all jammed together.
Yeah.
That was right.
It's okay. Don't worry
that was right there. And there were 2 boats on the corner of my block, and there was no power. So it's like you do your cleanup from sun up to sundown. And it was like the second or third day, cranes came in and lifted the boats up. And it was around 5 o'clock. Sun was starting to go down, and there were firemen walking up the block, going door to door and knocking on all the doors. And I was just, and I'm thinking it's like a Katrina thing that they're coming to put like an X, you can't come in here.
Yeah.
And it's like in my house, for instance, like where my daughter's room, there was no floor. The whole floor had collapsed into the crawl space.
Okay.
And parts of and in the back room, the one where I put the towel, the wood was all beyond buckled. It was just I thought they were coming to say you can't stay here.
Right.
So when he gets to me, and I asked him, I said, are you doing, is this a Katrina thing? You're telling people like, no, it's not like that. He said, when we moved the boats, there were 2 bodies underneath the muck. Oh, fuck. And I just like that. And he, I'm sorry. I forget sometimes. I'm just so used to talking like to other firemen.
Yeah.
I don't realize that, but yeah. So we're going door to door to see if everybody's accounted for, because there was no.
Were they neighbors or were they what?
This is why I'm saying there's more body than they told us. I never saw anything anywhere. I searched because I told people about this, and I was horrified. I didn't sleep. I was horrified. I was like, I walked back and forth over 1,000 times.
And they were there and you had no idea.
I'm stepping on these poor people. So I was like, look, just nothing. No, when they had like the list of the people that were killed and how they died, there was never anything anywhere about these two people that I know.
Right. And I remember I interviewed Adam Nutter. He's a comedian in Philly now, but he was a cop at the time on Staten Island. And he was telling me there was like by the hospital, they had laid out bodies, like dozens of bodies that were illegal immigrants that you can't report who they are because you don't know who they are, undocumented. Yeah. And I remember Lisa and my sister walking in Newport Beach without me. They went back there for something, maybe to go to her house to get some stuff. And they came across a dead dog like that had been washed up. And I remember that bothering me, hearing about the dead dog they came across. Yeah. It's crazy.
It was not. And then but then there was the whole thing. We were out for 2 years because we never got, we had flood insurance, but I had to sue to get it.
Which is crazy.
Which is nuts. And what it turned out was, because I was trying, it was like an obsession. Like I was just determined. I just was fighting and I didn't give up because my kid, like her room was on the first floor, her toys, and she lost everything. In fact, at the time, my wife was doing her laundry, so she even lost all her clothes.
Oh, jeez.
And she was so, I don't know, it was because, she saw what I was going through or whatever, but she never complained, ever, the kid.
That's
never.
Incredible.
She would just, every day when I'd come back from, throwing, it wasn't even cleanup, it was just, demo.
Right.
And she, did you see this and this toy? Every day? And I have to, no, sweetie. I said, sweetie, every day I tell her, sweetie, I said, we're going to replace everything, but it's all gone.
It's all gone. How long did it take till they start issuing you money? From you have to call them after the storm. They're probably getting 9 billion calls, and you have to tell them, well, my house is one of these houses. Like, when do they start recouping you anything?
I initially.
How do they mail it to you? You're not living there.
Well, what happened, the adjusters came, like I knew people who knew people that, could get me pushed to the top, which was great, and so I mean, there were adjusters everywhere. So I had a homeowner adjuster that came, but but the homeowners didn't really cover much because it was covered under the flood. So I got like a little bit of money, but it wasn't really anything. I think I used it to fix something, and I used it to replace toys mostly, because it was nothing. And I said, I was just whatever it was supposed to cover. Like as far as like, I think the roof. I think it was for like the roof.
A lot of people got just their roof. I remember that happened.
I think it was like I got like $800 or something from the home, from the homeowners, just enough to. And they said, but if it goes more for the roof, keep the
receipts. Like you have this money lying around.
There was no way for them to get up there because the way my house is, the top, you'd have to go on the deck with a ladder, and the deck was just, there was like nothing left of it. So. So and then my father had come. Everybody came like the first day, and it's like you really saw like the good in people, and you saw the worst in people too.
What I'm saying, it's probably good you locked your door because there was a ton of looting right after, which is sick.
The next day, I mean, it was like there was like National Guard walking around, right? And I had to tell them, I had to show my proof that I lived here. And I was like, I was like, I'm not looting. If I'm looting, why am I throwing this stuff out?
Yeah.
But it's like, and it just didn't occur to me that it was necessary. Until it was one day, some guy completely strung out, came down and like was like wanted me to hire him to help. And I was like, you ain't going anywhere near my house. And he's like, just $20, I'll help you. I said, I'm gonna hit you with this fucking shovel, because I was like using a shovel to like clean muck. So I'm going to put the shovel right through your head if you don't get away from my house. Because he was like a looter waiting to happen.
Like all the drugs are dried up because of the storm, and he's going through it. Yeah. Jesus. I don't want to have to cut you off. That was an amazing story, but I gotta be somewhere in an hour.
Okay.
But that was really great show we just did. I really enjoyed that.
I had a great time.
I want to do this again soon with you.
It was just you're great at this. So it's like I have no idea what, like, if I said anything that I shouldn't have. If I
No, you say anything you want on this show.
No, I'm saying, like, if anybody's watching this, why'd you say?
Why not? That's what you wanted to say. Right. It's not their business, is it? They have a right. You know what they have a right to do? They have a right to turn it off and not listen anymore. There you go. But thanks for doing this. I want to do this again with you sometime. This is a lot of fun. We just did 2 hours. Like, it just flew by.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Absolutely. So you have any shows coming up?
Ladies Tavern.
Ladies. Oh, down on the terrace. Yeah. Oh, that's the show Darren runs.
Yeah, in November. and then November 26th at Caroline's.
Okay, that's
The Monday after.
212-757-4100.
There you go.
Call up, say you want to see Rodney. That's November
26th.
What time?
7 o'clock.
All
The
right.
Monday after Thanksgiving.
All right. And thank you guys for listening. You know where to get the show on all platforms where you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, blah, blah, blah. At Sal Cola Comedy, at Slant Show. And if you have any questions for Rodney or myself until we get phones going on Skype, slantshow@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, guys. We will see you soon.
Take care.
Let me turn off the live feeds.
Can you see like how many people were watching in that?
Yeah, usually on the phone it's easier.